Welcome back. So today we're going to continue our conversation on the quadratic formula. However, we are going to now dive into the word problems involving the quadratic formula. So let's take a look at this example. Your school's jazz band is selling CDs as a fundraiser. The total profit P depends on the amount X that your band charges for each CD. The equation P equals negative X squared plus 48X minus 300 models the profit of the fundraiser. What is the least amount in dollars you can charge for CD and make a profit of 200? So this 200 that they're giving us, this 200 is a profit. So I'm going to plug that in. So I want a profit of 200. And now we need to solve that quadratic. Now hopefully you remember from yesterday that the only way to solve a quadratic is to have it set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract off that 200. So I have something that's set equal to 0. So that's the quadratic that I'm going to have to solve. Now, of course, we're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So I have my A is negative 1, B is 48, C is negative 500, and I'm going to plug that into the formula. So negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. And remember, the first piece that we want to simplify is that piece inside the radical, that discriminant. So that's what I'm going to type into my calculator. So 48 squared minus 4 times A times C. So I type that in, and I get 304. All over negative 2. For word problems, we're actually going to work out and get decimal answers for these word problems. I don't want radical form stuff because that really doesn't tell me anything. So let's solve this the two different ways with the plus. So negative 48 plus square root of 304. Hit enter, and then divide it by negative 2. So $15.28. That's one answer, but then we also need when we're subtracting. So you need to type that into your calculator. So negative 48 minus square root of 304, and then divide by the negative 2. $32.72. I'm sorry, just need to make sure I'm going to write it down right. Yep, $32. $32.72. So we want the least amount spent. The least amount they can charge is $15.28 to get that profit of $200. So you can tell kind of the process is plugging in whatever value they give, getting it set equal to 0, and then solving using the quadratic formula. That's kind of the process we're going to follow for each of these problems. So let's take a look at this one. You sell wrapping paper as a charity fundraiser. The equation P equals negative 6x squared plus 200x minus 1200 models the total profit P as a function of the price X per roll of paper. What is the smallest amount in dollars you can charge per roll of wrapping paper to make a profit of $1,500? So that $1,500 is a profit. So that's where I'm going to plug it into. Now I need it set equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract off that 1,500. So that is a quadratic that I now want to solve with a quadratic formula. So let's get the quadratic formula set up. Negative b, so negative 280, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. All right, so that's going to be a beast to type into the calculator, but we can do it. So we have negative 280 plus or minus. Now remember, this part right here, this is what I want to put in my calculator first. That's what I want to simplify. So let's type it in. 280 squared minus 4 times negative 6 times a negative 2,700. That gives us 13,600. So 13,600 divided by negative 12. And now we have to solve both parts of this number. So we have the positive. So we have negative 280 plus the square root of 13,600. Hit enter, then divide by the negative 12 to get $13.62. And you have the negative piece that you have to solve for. So negative 280 minus the square root of 13,600 divided by negative 12, $33.05. So, and if you want to charge the least amount possible, you would charge the $13.62. All right, so let's continue on to our next example. You hit a golf ball into the air from a height of 1.5 inches above the ground with an initial velocity of 85 feet per second. The function h equals negative 16t squared plus 85t plus 0.125 models the height in feet of the ball at time t in seconds. When will the ball reach a height of 50 feet? So that 50 feet is a height. So I'm going to plug it in. All right, now subtract 50. 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 85t. Now, if you don't know that off the top of your head, just type it in. 0.125 minus 50. Oh, all right, negative 49.875. So there's a quadratic that I need to now solve. So I'm going to set up my quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So again, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to simplify this mess right here. So 85 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 49.875. Oh, sorry, I forgot a parenthesis. Oh, I'm just going to restart that. So 85 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 49.875. That gives me 4,033. All over that 2 times negative 16, which we know is negative 32. So now let's type that into the calculator. We have our plus version, negative 85 plus square root of 4,033 divided by negative 32. So 0.67 seconds. Then we have to do our minus version as well. Negative 85 minus square root of 4,033 divided by negative 32. And again at 4.64 seconds. So those are the 2 times that the ball will be at 50 feet in the air. Now there's another way that we can use this equation. So what if I were to ask you, will the ball reach a height of 115? So basically it's asking, is there a solution when the height is at 115? So the cool thing is, you don't need to do the whole quadratic formula. All you need to do is the discriminant. So we can just plug in the 115 for the height, negative 16t squared plus 85t plus 0.125. Subtract the 115 from both sides. So this time we get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 85t. And again, if you need a little help because of those decimals, 0.125 minus 115, negative 114.875. So here's our quadratic when we're asking about a height of 115. But because we don't want to know when it reaches it, we just want to know, will it reach that? So we're asking, is there a solution? That can be answered by the discriminant. All right, so we need to find that discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. If the discriminant is positive, it means yes, there will be a solution. But remember, if that discriminant is negative, remember that means no, there will not be a solution to this quadratic. So let's check it out. B squared, so 85 squared minus 4 times A times C. Let's plug that into the calculator and see what we get. 85 squared minus 4 times A times C. We get a negative number. We get negative 127. Now remember, when that discriminant is negative, we talked about this yesterday. When it's negative, it means that there is no solution. All right, you can't have that situation. So the answer we're going to give is no. It will never reach that height of 115. So those are the 2 skills I need you to be able to do for me in this section, all right? solve word problems, and then tell me if there is or is not a solution for a certain point. So thank you so much for joining me. And as always, please make sure to write that summary right down here, and then make sure you come back to class ready to do your practice work.